My name is Susan Snozzy, and I am with Club RD. I'm so excited to have you all here for this webinar. We've got some important stuff to talk about, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'll start first with a bit of a disclaimer. Some of the information that we'll talk about, how various types of social media work, for example, may be something of a review to some of you. This webinar was designed for people, particularly board members, who are unfamiliar with how digital donor engagement works and some of the social engagement platforms that are out there. So what I would suggest when we get to the stuff that's a real review for you, just think of it as a brush up and think about how you would share this information with your boards as well, because this is great information for them to have. As always, if you have a question or a comment, please just type it in the question box over there on your dashboard and I'll answer it during the webinar. You are all on mute because unfortunately the excitement in the background of a club makes it too hard for other people to be able to hear what's going on in the webinar. But please, if you have any questions, do type them into the question box and we'll be sure that they get answered. So today we're going to talk about how to engage your donors digitally. And by digital donor engagement, I really mean anything electronic. So this could be social media, your website, even your telephone. Today, I'm hoping that everyone will leave understanding the most influential types of social media, knowing the importance of having a social media and digital presence, being able to apply tips for establishing online giving to help you market your club, and be able to make research-based recommendations for action to your board and your staff. So this first slide shows the most popular causes on social media. And just take a moment to kind of read it and take it all in. So when I looked at this, I was thrilled because besides animals, which I would argue are not as cute as our cute little children in Boys and Girls Clubs, but that's okay. Besides animals, we're the most popular cause on social media, and these are causes that people followed and supported. You'll notice that they don't add up to 100% because some people act upon multiple causes. But we touch a lot of these areas: children, health and wellness. Some of the things that we do, you could argue, are human rights. Poverty and hunger, education. We serve folks who have disabilities. We serve women and girls. We provide food and agriculture in some cases. We serve the arts. So a lot of the things that are the most popular causes on social media are also the causes that we're engaged with. And so that should make you feel really good about your ability to raise dollars and get impact electronically. So why should we make a digital donor engagement strategy? Some of you may have maybe old school yourselves, your boards may be old school, your organization may be saying, look, we've always done it through just face-to-face and print, and that's working just fine. And that's true. And if you just did face-to-face and print for the next few years, you'd do fine, because digital donor engagement is not a huge part of overall giving. However, it's increasing significantly. And ultimately, you would find yourself unable to serve your audiences and behind the curve. So in 2014, online giving increased 13%. Monthly giving, facilitated through online means, where someone has a recurring gift that comes back every month, increased 32%. Email yielded $40 per 1,000 messages, $124 per 1,000 for smaller lists like most of us would have. So that's not a lot of money, but it's money and it's potential. Websites visited $612 per 1,000 web visitors. Facebook and Twitter audiences grew by 42% and 37% respectively. So these two forms of social media are growing every day, and we want to be a part of that. So what do people do after engaging with social media? Again, people can do more than one. You can see it says select all that apply. They donate money. They volunteer. They donate clothing, food, or other personal items. They might attend an event. They might connect with political representatives, organize an event, or help in some other way. Maybe they're doing lip service to your organization or recruiting other volunteers. Well, all of these are the kinds of calls to action that we would have on Facebook, on Twitter, etc. And all of these are things that our organization needs. So if you have someone who's really hesitant to engage with social media, show them this slide and you'll be able to download all of these as a PDF after the webinar and show them why it's important that we engage digitally. I like this slide because it explains all the different kinds of social media in a way that we can all relate to. whether it's Facebook, where we say we like coffee, or Instagram, where we're showing pictures of ourselves drinking coffee, LinkedIn, where we're showing our wonderful credentials at drinking coffee. This kind of helps you to understand what's happening, what kind of content is on each different kind of social media. Or for those who like vintage social networking, this is what it used to be back in my day, right? Skype was just the phone, Pinterest was just a bulletin board, Foursquare was just the globe. All of these still have applications to you at the club. They're just a little bit different. The other day I was doing a training and I said something about your board members' Rolodexes, and I thought, no one has a Rolodex anymore. Why did I say that? Okay, so first we're going to talk about Twitter. I think Twitter is the one that flummoxes people the most because of the hashtags and the @ signs, and it's very confusing and it all seems quite foreign. But it's really very simple. Here's how Twitter works. It's a global platform for users to share whatever they want: thoughts, news, ideas, jokes, in 140 characters or less, tweeting like a little bird. Users can follow one another to keep tabs on people and causes. Unlike Facebook, everyone's Twitter profile is public. So anything you post on Twitter can be seen by anyone. Now, as a representative of the club, be sure to keep that in mind when you're creating your own Twitter account and when you're putting out tweets. Trends occur when people tweet about the same topic or join in a larger conversation using hashtags. So an example of a trend that's occurred recently was Black Lives Matter. Lots of people were tweeting things about the same thing, and they were tagging Black Lives Matter. When we had our Great Futures campaign launch, people were tagging Great Futures, tagging Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and that was trending. Okay, so for those of you who are like, yeah, I know all of this already, test your Twitter savvy. Take a minute, look at these, and think about how many of these you already know. What's a tweet? What's a retweet? What's a feed? A handle? A direct message, a mention, and a hashtag. And here they are. A tweet is a 140-character message. A retweet is simply reposting someone else's 140-character message. Your feed is the accounts that you follow. So if you opened up Twitter right now and created an account, you wouldn't have any messages to read. You'd have to start by following folks. So you follow Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and you follow Boys and Girls Clubs of Kenosha, and you follow Boys and Girls Clubs of the Northeast, and then you would see all of their tweets. And this is an important point in digital media because people think that maybe we could use this as the panacea for donor communication. If donors aren't following you, they won't see your tweets. And the same is true in Facebook. Your handle is your Twitter name. Mention is when someone tags you in their tweet. A direct message, very seldom used in Twitter as I understand, just a private message between people. Now that hashtag is the thing that gets confusing. That's how you identify groups, people, events, to kind of explain what's happening to others in Twitter. And follow is subscribing to someone's tweets. So if you're reading this and listening right now and you're feeling very confused about Twitter and it all seems really overwhelming, here's my advice. Just open up a Twitter account and play around with it. Nobody's going to see what you're doing because nobody's following you. And you can start seeing what other clubs are doing, what other people are doing, and then ultimately once you gain a little bit of comfort with how the tagging and the hashtagging and so forth works, then you can create an account for your club and you can start communicating. You can also start by retweeting things that Boys and Girls Clubs of America or other clubs are saying, so you don't even have to worry too much about what your club is going to say until you've kind of found your voice. A few tips: keep your tweets to about 110 characters. Don't have too many abbreviations. Add pictures. Avoid tweeting sprees. Sometimes you'll see this with nonprofits. Certainly no Boys and Girls Club would do this, but they'll sort of realize they haven't been on social media for a while, and so they'll tweet, and then there's nothing. Try to make a calendar of when your tweets are going to go out, when your Facebook posts will go out, and follow that. If a calendar is difficult for you to follow because you have so many things to do, you can't take 20 minutes out every single day to get on Twitter and get on Facebook, you can pre-load your tweets, your Facebook posts, etc., and then post them at a later point in time using an online platform that helps you to do that. Don't just push out information. Join a larger conversation. And I think this is a real opportunity for our clubs, not just in terms of resource development, but in terms of positioning the way that we are understood in the greater community. You want your community to think of you as expert on all issues of youth development and issues affecting youth. So if, for example, the school board has just made new graduation requirements, you might join that conversation and say, we're ready to help our kids graduate at the Boys and Girls Clubs. So you can start positioning yourself as the real expert on youth development by getting in and offering your insight on trending hashtags when appropriate. I would avoid controversial issues because you don't want to upset your donors, but on things like kids getting great grades, being healthy, being good character and citizenship, of course, those are conversations you can add. If you're in an event, you can use that event's hashtag to connect with other attendees and clubs. So the next time you go to a conference, you can try that. Here's an example of someone using Twitter effectively. The Elgin Boys and Girls Club quoted Mayor Rahm Emanuel and hashtag Great Futures. They tagged Great Futures to it. So this is a nice tweet from a club. To build a following, remember conversations can go both ways. Encourage your followers to interact with you by tweeting questions. You can follow who's to follow. When someone retweets you or follows you, be sure to thank them so that they feel like they're really engaged and interacting with the club. You can use the favorite button as a like, as you would on Facebook. You can build that following. This will probably largely be of younger people, but our young donors don't stay young forever, so it's still a really helpful tool. The next tool I'm going to talk about is Instagram. Instagram is an online mobile photo sharing and video sharing social networking service. Facebook recently purchased Instagram for $1 billion. Instagram has 200 million users who are uploading 20 billion photos every day. 90% of those users are under the age of 35. So Instagram may be more applicable to you in terms of how you engage the young people you serve or how you represent yourselves to younger people than how you use it to raise money. But those users who are under 35 will continue to get older, as we all do, and eventually engaging them on Instagram is going to be a place where they want to see you. This is kind of how to use Instagram. I'm not going to go through this right now because you have the download of these slides, but if you're interested in learning how to use Instagram, this is an instructional slide. A few tips for Instagram. You can use the Explore button to find things to follow. Post 2 or 3 times a day if it's relevant. You can use hashtags to gain followers. 3 that trend are hashtag selfie, hashtag no filter, and hashtag 3TBT, which is Throwback Thursday. That's old pictures. 3 to 15-second videos can also be posted, and videos get great engagement. And the Instagram Help Center on their website could also be helpful. This makes me laugh. Everyone has the friend on social media who posts pictures of everything that they eat, right? Okay. Next is Facebook. The other day, I was at a meeting, and the individuals at this meeting suggested that what we were going to do, rather than embarking on face-to-face and written communication with donors, we were going to stop doing a newsletter. This club was going to stop doing written letters and just start posting everything to Facebook. And I was really concerned because that individual didn't understand how Facebook works. And certainly you can use Facebook to raise money, but that's not its only purpose. And what's more, the only people who will see your appeals on Facebook are the people who are already following you. So don't abandon your regular snail mail and face-to-face visits and phone calls in favor of an only social media strategy. Please. Okay, Facebook has 1.3 billion active users around the world. Smartphone users check their accounts 15 times a day. Probably most everyone on this webinar did it while they were waiting, and I sure hope you're not doing it right now. Mark Zuckerberg donated $1 billion to charity in 2013, which makes him the biggest charitable donor in the United States. This is really important. 48% of young Americans said they found out about news through Facebook. So again, if you're positioning yourselves as an expert on youth development, beyond just resource development, and developing your image as a club, commenting about news, sharing news could be one way to help do that. Here's an example of a club who's using Facebook really effectively to engage people. You can see that here they're giving you the opportunity to make a gift. They've got an interesting quote there. They've got some good pictures. And for those of you who are thinking, yeah, this looks great, but I don't know how to create a blue door graphic, if you go to marketing.bgca.org, you'll find those blue door graphics and a lot more social media assets to help get you started and give you really professional looking graphics to put on your social media campaigns. So this is just a good example of someone using Facebook well. Get the most from your post. These are some best practices in terms of when you should schedule and so forth. Now there's that software that I was talking about, or that online service that I was talking about, is called Hootsuite, H-O-O-T, Suite. And you can go on Hootsuite and pre-plan your posts to hit during these specific times when people have more engagement. So you could pre-plan your posts, pre-populate your posts, put them into Hootsuite, and they would go up. It wouldn't prevent you from adding more posts if you wanted to, say if something newsworthy happened or you had a great picture of a kid, but you would know that it was already taken care of. Now, social media takes quite a bit of time, and unfortunately, we don't all have full-time marketing managers who can do it. This is a fantastic way to engage either an intern or a board member, as long as you have clear guidelines for what should be posted and you're communicating things with them about what you'd like to see go up. Why not let someone else do it? Imagine the great opportunity you give a college student by letting them be the social media director of your club. And the really good thing about this is that you can be a social media director from anywhere. So even if there's not an institution of higher learning in your community, if you can find someone who's interested, you can give them that volunteer position. Lots of board members are interested in social media engagement too, and so this might be a great way to engage a board member in resource and community development without them having to ask anyone for money. So our best practices: post 1 to 2 times a day. The reason is because your news feed is tailored to those posters that you interact with the most. And so what'll happen is I follow like every Boys and Girls Club I've ever met. But in my news feed at any given time, I'll only see 1 or 2 posts. And that's because if I haven't interacted with them, they fall out of my news feed. So the more often you post, the more engagement you get, and the more your posts will show up to your fans. Facebook is used during all of the times of day when people aren't really working. So when they first get to work, lunchtime, and right after work. Engagement is higher at the end of the week when people are getting tired of working. On the weekends, they love to share and reshare. So that's a good time to post. Again, Hootsuite could do that for you so you aren't at your desk all weekend. And photos get more engagement. People are just more excited to see something that has a catchy photo or visual than simply just words. Last but not least, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and YouTube. These are probably less vital, especially the first 2 aspects of your digital donor engagement, but I wanted to talk about them for a minute. Pinterest is basically a digital bulletin board. When you find things online that you think are interesting, whether it's makeup ideas, recipes, home decorating, crafts, or anything else, you virtually pin them to your bulletin boards. It's very simple to use. And the application here probably is more for your program folks. So I met an art director who had a Pinterest board full of ideas for the club, things that she thought the kids might like to do. I met a literacy manager who put up different mnemonic devices and things for kids to teach them how to read. But here's an example of a club who does have a Pinterest board and is using it to help put their message forward. I'm not sure if you have limited time that you need to do this, but again, if you've got that social media manager, have them get you out there. LinkedIn. LinkedIn really exists more for you as an individual professional. So now instead of talking about what you could do for your club to increase digital engagement, this is something that you could do as an individual for your professional development. The most important are the last 2 on here. The first is participating in groups. And the second is finding connections for resource development. So, for example, this is my LinkedIn page. These are the groups that I belong to. So I'm able to learn about boards, about women in leadership, about philanthropy, revenue, donor professionals through my LinkedIn groups. There's also a Boys and Girls Club Resource Development Professionals LinkedIn page that you can go to. The other thing you can do, though, that I really like is if you have a donor that you're interested in talking to, we know that having a personal connection is the most important way to be able to get in to see those donors. You can see who in your network they know. You can reach out to those people and see if they can help open the door for you, even if those people aren't on your board of volunteers. YouTube is certainly something that you should be trying to use, posting videos of your club kids as long as you have a photo release. With more than 1 billion users and hundreds of millions of hours of people watching every day and billions of views. 300 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute, and half of the views are on mobile devices. So you can have your club's YouTube page. You can send a donor a thank you video, post it on YouTube, send them the link. You can use it so parents can see what their kids are doing. A great and easy tool to use. So here's just an example of a club, Boys and Girls Club's YouTube page. You can see it's branded. It's got those graphics and pictures from marketing.bgca.org, and they're posting what their club is up to. Even if you don't do anything on social media, don't forget your website, which is, as you saw in the statistics for how much money different kinds of digital engagement raise, the most important thing that you can have. And if you think about it, your newsletters, your Facebook, your letters that you send out, even your Twitter are always directing people to your website. So if your website isn't successful, you're not going to be successful. So this is a nice looking website. It's easy to read. It's clear. It's well branded. And it's got great pictures of kids on it. Make it easy to donate on your website. Embed the donation process inside your website and make sure that it's mobile compatible. Lots of donations are going through on our cell phones. We've all had that experience when we're trying to make a donation or buy a pair of shoes where we're clicking and clicking and it doesn't work and we can't get it to work, and eventually we say, I didn't need those shoes anyway. In marketing research, they look at what's called shopping cart abandonment rates and find that for every additional click it requires to check out and buy whatever you want, the shopping cart abandonment rate increases by 11%. That's why Amazon has one-click ordering, because you don't have time to abandon your shopping cart and all of a sudden you ordered the shoes. So make it easy to donate. Have that Donate Now page on every single page of your website. Clear and easy to read. Have a web donation form. This web donation form is easy. It suggests various gift levels. The one I really like here is the $42.50, where you can donate monthly to support a club kid for a year. So here you're signing up for monthly donations, which is fantastic. You are also giving an odd amount. And there's a piece of research that found that people believe those odd amounts more because they really think, and correctly so, that it's actually divided out to go to something. So you could even do this all the way across your web donation form. Oh, we have one question that they went to Boys and Girls Club Resource Development Professionals on LinkedIn and nothing popped up. Well, that's weird. Try Resource Development Professionals and see if that works. Or you can look for me and you can connect with me and then I can send you the link too. Feature a donate button on your web page. Include it on every single page. Make it bold and easy to see, because you never know when someone's on there looking for information about where you're located. If they see information about how to give, they may decide to give, but you've got to make it easy for them. Use consistent messaging. Use the same language and imagery throughout your digital communication. This is going to be helpful to keep driving the message home. You're telling the same story on multiple platforms, but you're not repeating yourself. People don't like automated content that repeats itself because it's boring. Sorry, my computer is not wanting to cooperate, which is ironic. Promote monthly giving. Monthly donors give 42% more than one-time donors. The reason for this is, if you imagine that I got your mailing and I decided I was going to give $100, and then I saw I could give monthly, I'd probably give $10 a month. So you would end up with a net gain of 20% across the 12 months. What's also nice about this is once people start giving monthly, they very seldom end unless their credit card expires, and then they usually will think to re-up their donation. And it's money that you can budget based upon. So you know that you're going to get that money every single month. So monthly giving is really, really important. It's also a great service to the donor because they can fix it and forget it. They're continually getting stewarded. They're getting multiple thank you notes. They're engaged with the club, but they don't have to do anything to make that gift. So this is a win-win for everybody. Promote it on your website. Publish an e-newsletter. 25% of nonprofits don't promote their campaigns via email. In that newsletter, include multiple links to your web donation form. Email, which links to the web, is the primary source for online donations. So have that e-newsletter. Now, a lot of clubs say, I don't have any email addresses. Okay, so on your website, have a place where people who come to your website can sign up for your newsletter. You can put that right on your landing page. Join our e-newsletter list. Collect email addresses when you're at special events, when you talk to people on your social media, and tell people we're trying to build up our list of emails so we can save more paper and have more money for the kids. We're trying to build up our email address. Is there anyone else we should add, etc. But having that email address, that email form on your website is a really important tip. So I did an experiment. I wanted to see how many clubs out there really met these different criteria that we were talking about. And so I decided I would spend $50 and make a generous $5 donation to 10 different clubs, as long as I was able to do so on my mobile phone. So that way I could see if they were optimized for mobile, if they had a website, if I was able to make a donation, etc. So how many dollars do you think I ended up giving away? Here are the results. All of the clubs had Facebook pages. Woo! 2 of the clubs did not have a website. 5 clubs had Twitter accounts. 8 clubs had the ability to accept gifts online. So at this point, I knew I would probably be giving 8 gifts, but I needed to be able to give them via mobile. 3 accepted gifts only via PayPal. Now, clubs like PayPal because it's easy to get set up, but it does scare donors off sometimes because a lot of them don't understand that you don't have to have a PayPal account to pay, that you can also use a credit card. So if it's possible for you to change your payment portal away from PayPal and to something else, I would recommend that you do it. One site listed sponsor only as an option, but then the link was broken. 2 required intense hunting to find the donate button. So I would have certainly left if I had been a regular donor, but I was a determined presenter and I wanted to make my generous $5 gift. So the results. 2 of these weren't optimized for mobile. 1 had a donation form that could not be completed on a mobile phone. So what it did is it got me down to where I could make a $2,500 gift, which I cannot afford, and then it locked up. 1 donation portal declined my credit cards repeatedly and then eventually sent me a note thanking me for my donation. So imagine if I'd been a donor trying to make a gift and I thought I hadn't, and then that happened. 2 of them allowed the donor to direct their gifts, which is kind of a mixed benefit because we really need that operating support, but it's very donor-centric to let me decide where my dollars go. 6 of them had a donate button on the front page, which is great. So what did my experiment cost me? I had $50 to spend. I picked these clubs at random. It cost me $25. So half of the clubs in my non-scientific and very small study were able to accept gifts online and had kind of optimized their web presence. These are a few examples of tools that can assist you. Constant Contact is a company that sends out email campaigns on your behalf. If you are a small club, you will be eligible for Constant Contact Cares for Kids, which will be free. MailChimp is another great tool that does the same thing. Amazon.com has the Amazon Smile program, and lots of clubs are using that for their supporters to get 1% of each purchase donated to the club. It's not a lot of money, but it's some money. It won't hurt. And it helps donors to feel very engaged because they're thinking of you every single time they shop on Amazon. And if they're anything like me, that's a lot. So I go to smile.amazon.com and my 1% goes to Boys and Girls Clubs of America. And then lastly, Hootsuite, which is the social media scheduling application I talked about. There's their web address. Here's another list of resources that I was citing during the presentation in case you want to find any of them. And at this point, I would ask if anyone has questions that they might want to type into the question box that I could answer. I would be happy to. No questions. Well, to conclude, I would just say social media and digital engagement are a great way to keep your donors interested, to remind them that you are out there, to appeal for gifts, and to build your presence in the community. This is just a matter of knowing how to use them and being willing to go out there and dive in. So thank you all so much for being here. I do see that we have one quick question here. Even if it's an intern, how much time should be dedicated to social media? That's an excellent question. It's hard to answer not knowing what you have developed, whether you already have a website and those kinds of things. But as long as you're able to get kind of that goal engagement of a couple of posts a day, being present across platforms. So I would think that especially if they're using something like Hootsuite, someone could manage to do that in a matter of 5 or fewer hours per week, even if they're designing some content, getting some pictures and so forth. So that's a great question, and I appreciate you asking it. Might take a little bit more time to do some web development if that's necessary. So you'll see over in the handout section here, you can download the slides from today as a PDF. Got one more question. What would you say to a staff member that is charged with social media that might not want to let go of responsibilities to an intern, etc.? I would have that staff member train and supervise the intern if that staff member is doing a good job, and I would show them how it frees up their time to do higher level tasks so that they would be excited about letting go of those social media responsibilities and so that they were getting some supervisory experience too. I hope that helps, Jennifer. That's a very good question. Anybody else have questions about social media, about digital donor engagement, or anything else we've talked about today? Well, thank you all for being here. This is my contact information. So if you get off of the webinar and there's something that you think of, get a hold of me at any time about this or any other issues about resource development. It would be my pleasure to help you. With that, we are adjourned. I thank you all so very much for being here, and I wish you the very best of luck engaging your donors digitally. Thank you.